Welcome back to None of Your Beeswax Apiary. It's the middle of November and there's not much going on with the bees out in the bee yard, but there is still lots of things that we need to do throughout the winter time to finish up from last season and to prep for next season. And one of those things is rendering our wax. We take all the wax cappings or scrapings, the comb and stuff like that, the extra burr comb. We put them in a bucket until the end of the year, and then we render them all at once throughout the winter months when there's nothing else to do out in the bee yard. So today I'm going to show you the first step in how we render it. We usually do a 2 or 3 part step depending upon how dirty the wax is until we can get it as clean as we need to. So this will be the first part, and we go through and do all the wax and get it to the first part first, and then we start the second part to filter it some more. So we'll show you today how to take this, which is a bucket full of our wax cappings from our honey harvest, and the final product we usually pour into these little pucks like that are made out of silicone mold, just cheap silicone mold you get from the dollar store. But that's the final product right there that then we can use to melt down for candles, to re-wax our frames or anything like that. But in this first step, we're going to get it into a puck like this. You can see how dirty that still is with all the bits and pieces and stuff like that we don't want in there. But the first step will remove any leftover honey that's in the wax, and that's the important part, because when you melt it down, you're going to have all that honey that's left over in those wax cappings. Even though we've drained them and stuff, you still got honey left over that you got to get out. So we're going to get that honey out, because that will pour through a strainer, so you got to get that off first, and then we can go ahead and strain the rest of this wax here. So we'll go ahead and show you how we do that first step. Okay, so a couple things to get started here. We're going to set up a double boiler to do this first rendering in. So you want to get a pot to put some water in, fill it about halfway full of water, and then you want to get an old pot, because this is what you're going to put your wax cappings in, and as you can see, there's going to be a whole bunch of wax left over in there and garbage in the bottom, so you don't want something, because you're never going to get this clean again. So get an old pot, and I'm going to put probably about an inch of water here in the bottom, and then we'll add our wax on top of that. Okay, so we've got our old pan here. I said I put about an inch of water in the bottom, and what that's going to do is just going to make it easier to get the honey and wax separated. You can just put the wax in the pot, but then you're just going to wind up with a real heavy layer of honey underneath, and it's kind of hard to get it separated. This makes it a little bit easier, to pop out of the pan. And then we're just going to take our wax cappings. We store those in a 5-gallon bucket. After we drain all the honey that we can drain off of them, I pack them into a 5-gallon bucket and then store it until we can get around to rendering the wax down. So you're just going to fill this pot up with wax cappings. Pack as much as you can in there. Once they melt down, you can go back in and pack some more in there. Get as much as you can out of this. And you're going to have to watch your pot on the bottom with your water for your double boiler, because it will boil out of water. You don't want to boil that dry, so check on that periodically too. But we'll go ahead and finish packing this in and get it started. Okay, so now that we got our wax cappings pot filled, we got our pot on the bottom with the water in. We're going to turn the stove on and set that to boiling. I'm just going to set this on top of here like this. And as that heats up, that water is going to steam and heat this bottom pot up, which will cause that wax to melt. And to make it melt a little bit faster, we're going to put a lid on top. That'll keep some of that heat in that pot and heat it up a little bit faster. So once that gets to boiling and starts melting, we'll show you what happens. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. This has been on boiling. You can see the steam rising from the bottom pot is boiling. Take the lid off, look inside there, and we've got a soupy mix of water, beeswax cappings, wax, honey, everything like that. Just kind of give it that little stir to push it in there, melt that some more. We're going to go ahead and top this off with some more wax cappings, and then let this finish off, and then we'll show you what we get when we're done. Okay, so this has been on boiling for about an hour now, so we'll go ahead and pull the lid off. And as you can see right there, we got a nice soupy mix. All the wax is all melted. Some of it started to solidify in little bits and pieces there, but that's fine. We've got it all melted. So we're going to go ahead and take this off the stove, let it set to cool, and then we'll show you how we get it out of the pot next. Okay, so once you let your wax solidify in the pot, you'll wind up with This right here is a solid chunk of wax, and all the bits and pieces that are floating on top of the water slash honey mixture that's in the bottom. So we just need to dump that out and clean that up. Okay, so what I do is I come out here to the outside somewhere off to the side of the house, do this somewhere that you're not going to care if the bees are around, because that is a water honey mixture and it will draw the bees to the water. Even though if you're washing it off with water, they'll still start buzzing around this area looking for the honey and stuff like that. So I just come outside here and just take that, because that water's mixed in with the honey. You can see we got a bee right there already. I just dump it onto the ground. Your little wax puck's going to come out at the same time. And we've got our hose here. We just kind of rinse off that wax puck to get any of the extra debris that we can that's not caught in the wax, and especially any of the honey that's sitting along it, because that's the goal, is to get all the honey out of it this time. So we just rinse that off, set that aside, rinse our pan off a little bit. Don't have to clean the pan, because we're going to use it again for the next batch. And there you have it. There's our little wax puck. We're going to go ahead and set that aside, and we'll take that and do the next step on it when we're ready. And that's it for the first part of rendering our wax. We've got this little wax puck here. We'll go ahead and let this dry, because we rinsed it off. You don't want to throw it in your bucket and have it grow mold on it, although if it does, you can still render it some more and get rid of the mold. But we'll go ahead and let it sit out and dry. Again, if it's a warm day like it is today, it's going to be upper 60s, lower 70s. Be sure to set this out somewhere that you don't care that the bees are going to be buzzing around, because as you can see, we've already got a couple up here checking it out. So we'll go ahead and set this in the sun, let it dry, and then we'll proceed on to the next step. To be notified when we do the video for the next step, go ahead and like and subscribe to the page if you're not already. If you already are, we appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll show you in future videos how we wind up with the final product for our wax. Thank you.